I think Brian Hill said if we pick Logan Bruss, I'll jump in the pool. He's a little hesitant, so I tipped our head coach off, and at that point, Brian couldn't say no.
That's right.
Sean, which traits apply? What stood out to you guys and what applies into your system?
Yeah, I think that just the overall athleticism, it's always a little bit easier evaluation when you get these Wisconsin linemen because there's so many nuances to what they do in the run game, protections. Obviously, with the background with Rob and Dave, you feel really comfortable with that. And then when you talk to those guys about him, they can't say enough good things about him. I think the flexibility, the bend, just the overall athleticism, and then just the mental makeup. He's our kind of guy. He's going to come in immediately, and he's going to compete to start at right guard, and we're looking forward to getting him in here and getting to work with him.
When you say he's your kind of guy in the mental makeup, can you expand on that?
Yeah, I just think, the mental toughness in terms of going through, being your best when your best is required. You can really see this guy loves football. He's a smart football player. He's got great natural instincts, good feel for the game, and then it is a little bit easier evaluation. You don't want to punish guys because they're not playing in this system as nuanced as what Wisconsin does, particularly in the run game, Kurt. But he is a guy that, immediately when you watch him, he's got those traits, those characteristics that you're saying, all right, even though he's played right tackle, he's played some snaps at right guard, you feel like he's a seamless guy that can transition inside. He's got great awareness, great ability to be able to switch off stunts, understands angles of departure on the second level in the run game. He's got that first step quickness where he can cut off a three technique. He can reach an out-leverage player. He can reach a three. He can cut off a three. And so I'm looking forward to getting him in this building and getting to work with him.
Was this a clear-cut choice as 104 came up, or were there other positions taken down?
Yeah, I think like Les mentioned, Kevin. Go ahead, Les. You want to answer that one?
This one was definitely a clear cut. So, and throughout the draft, some players get taken, but this was definitely one of those players. Won't elaborate too much because some could still be on the board. That type of thing.
Did you guys get some calls waiting up?
We did get a couple calls, but he was starred. He got the gold star, or one of the gold stars of, hey, we take this player at 104.
What's that like? You see you guys sort of disperse and a lot of people go upstairs and the tension sort of builds. I wonder what that's like. You're watching guys come off one by one and you know that this guy has a star.
There's all kinds of things that runs through your mind, right? So obviously every team that's picking in front of you, you think they're going to pick, right, the guy that's lasted to pick maybe 99 or 100, but you're definitely sure he's going either 99, 100, 101, 102, 103. But that's just kind of how it goes, the anticipation of a long couple of days.
He said when he was in Wisconsin, he talked to Edwards, or Edwards kind of took him under his wing. Do you guys, in that process, knowing he's a high star, do you talk to Edwards more than a normal player about him?
Go ahead, Sean.
I would say this. There's dialogue with Rob Havenstein has familiarity with him. You certainly want to take your players' input while also acknowledging the fact that, when you're picking at 104, a player that we liked as much as we did with Bruss, you weren't sure if he would really get there. And you do want to be cognizant of, okay, if it doesn't really work out, but these were guys that had spoken really highly of him. These guys have earned the right to have some input where you really want to listen to them. And I think he is a good fit for that offensive line room, with Coach Carberry and now Rob taking over a leadership role with Big Whit being able to move on. I think it's going to be a really good thing for him to seamlessly fit in. No, there's a lot of work ahead. We got some other really good players that are candidates to continue to compete at that position, but he is a guy that we identified as somebody that's going to immediately come in and compete to be a big factor in our offense.
As you guys went about figuring out the emotional stuff that goes behind losing someone like Whitworth, was the familiarity that Logan had with Rob and with Dave kind of something that did stick out to you in terms of here's a guy who already gelled, so that part is over with already?
I don't know if you necessarily say that. I think it's kind of like what I mentioned earlier, Jordan. He's a guy that they do a lot of things at Wisconsin that make it an easier eval for an offensive lineman because of the intricacies that are involved in what they ask those guys to do, whether it be in the run game and even in some of their protection systems and their rules. But we were looking for a fit, and there's a lot of guys that kind of fit that prototype. I think the thing that you can say about Andrew is he's done such a good job of really, continuing to lead the right way where guys are ready to step up but continue to be themselves. And Rob is one of those guys. David Edwards, I think Brian Allen, going into, another year asserting himself as the starting center where the command, the capacity that he has. And I think Joe Noteboom's ready to take really big steps. And so for us, one of the positions that we need to continue to figure out is that right guard. We got guys like Coleman Shelton that played really good football for us. But Logan Bruss is going to be a guy that comes in and immediately continues to compete and raise the level of standards in that room.
How many people are in the room upstairs during the 104th pick, boy?
How many can fit in the room?
Yeah. Seems like we had a pretty good crowd up there. But, it's I think, hey, Kara, my awesome bride, I think what needs to be mentioned is, because y'all are all mingling, last night there were a lot of clues in that she was wearing my old letter jacket that had OG on it, so offensive guard. So you probably missed that. Then I do think this should
definitely did not stand for original gangster for
yes. And then even at the I think Kara mentioned this morning that after Sean and I noticed Cole Strange going, that at the end of the day, everyone should have said, ooh, if they're paying attention to guards that much or offensive line, they should be tipped. So I do think, and I want to say, I think this should be said. It will not go viral. I know Sean won't say this. Sean, because of how that video went viral in fun, and that was the chemistry between us and us going through this process trying to evaluate. But I know Sean talked to Cole this morning, did talk to Coach Belichick this morning just to say, hey, we there was nothing. We really like that player. Sean was just jest at myself, or hey, why did we waste our time on him again? And I can say this, and I think Kara and I talked about it last night. A long time ago, I forget when it was, but the New England Patriots drafted a guy named Logan Mankins from right up the road in Fresno. He was a left tackle. They moved him inside. About 10 years later, he had a lot of Pro Bowls and Super Bowls. So I think that's a very, very similar pick for those guys.
Yeah, what I would add to that is I think, I wish that it wouldn't have gotten misunderstood. It was more of a reflection of I was actually giving Les some, a hard time because, some shit. Because when we started watching him, I think we both were in agreement. There's no way he'd be there because we like the player so much. And if there's anybody that has more respect for Coach Belichick, what he's done, than I do, I'd like to see him because I have tremendous respect for this profession, for the players that play at this level, and I would never want it to get misunderstood for Cole Strange or the Patriots organization that anything but respect for the player. That was my reaction, and any misunderstanding was my fault for the way that I probably communicated that. But that I do appreciate you saying that, Les.
Just looking ahead to tomorrow, you guys feel good about 142. Do you feel like you could potentially trade back and still get some of those guys to come in and play right away, like you talked about?
142, we're still – how many picks? That seems like a long way to go, right? We got 40-something to go. So, but here's what I think will happen. The board will, at that point, dictate whether you move up, whether you move back, based on pods of players, right, at specific or certain positions. And, we're getting to the spot in the draft where we'll be specific. Because every pick we make, you got to really want to onboard the player, have a pretty clear vision of how that player can help you, whether it's maybe develop into a starter in the future, but maybe fill different contributing roles that aren't necessarily starting roles, but definitely playing on Sunday roles.
All right. Thanks, guys.